Now we're going to enter this phase where we're going to edit this video. So before we even think about how to edit, I'm going to cover the windows again, just so that we're all very clear on what each of these panels do. You've got your source panel. We'll actually use that today. You've got your program window, which basically will play the video of whatever's in the timeline, also plays audio too as well. We have a properties panel, which we haven't used yet. You have an audio meter on the right side, your timeline over here, and then our project. Just so that I can be clear, I am going to just get rid of all of, or not get rid of, but just close the folders of everything else. And I'm just going to use videos here. So my goal today is to show you multiple ways to edit. I would think that most of you will pick one and probably use that a ton. That's kind of the way I work through things. So the very first way of editing that I'm going to show you is one that I use quite a bit when it comes to editing video. I'm going to throw the playhead back. All right. We are going to start with one of the clips. We're going to start, I'm just reading my notes here. We are going to start, what am I looking for? We are starting with the tilt up video, which I believe is the last one in the list. So we already know that we can place clips into the timeline just by dragging the clip into the timeline. I'm going to do this one a little differently. I'm going to do it with what's called in and out points. So in order to do that, I need to have the video up here in the source panel. So I'm just going to double click on tilt up, and you have this video window that you can actually play through. So here's this crane look with a camera on the end of a crane there. You can kind of see the jitters of the crane as it goes to the right. Some people might think it's a drone that filmed that piece, but again, as you look up and it starts to pan to the right, you'll see the notching of the crane kind of pan over. So these things are all in a crane, which is fine. Neither here nor there. It doesn't change how we do things. But as you look at the beginning of this video, you'll see it just kind of stares at the ground for a little bit. So we're going to cut a little bit off the front, and then we're also going to cut a little bit off the back. The playhead runs through, just like any other playhead. You actually see the playhead move as it runs through the video. So I'm looking for a particular point in this video. I'm looking to be at the end point of 17 seconds. So you can do this a bunch of different ways. You can move the playhead around 17 if you want, 17 seconds, 0 frames, right? So I'll get it close, 17:02, and then I'll just push the left arrow back twice. That puts me at 17 seconds. You have two buttons below. One is mark in and mark out. And the one thing I'm going to point out to you is each of those, if you just lay your mouse over it, it'll tell you which one's which, and it'll also tell you what the keyboard shortcut is in the parenthesis. If I go over mark out, you'll see a little O in parentheses. That is the keyboard shortcut for that button. Mark in is, oddly enough, it's an I on the keyboard. So anyway, I've got my playhead at the 17-second mark. I'm going to mark an in point. The source panel will highlight all of the video, but it will leave out what you left out before at the beginning. So in essence, we made a cut per se. I'm going to cut on the backside too, and I'm going to show you a different way to move the playhead. I need to put an out point at 22:13. I'm going to do this one a little differently. So I'm going to go into the time marker, and I'm just going to type in 22:13. No colons or semicolons needed. I hit tab, and the playhead goes to the 22:13 mark, and it's just sitting there waiting for you. I'm going to go ahead and put an out point there, and you'll notice the back end of that clip gets cut. So currently in the source panel, what I have is this chunk of video, nothing here and nothing on the end. Ready to put it in my timeline, I'm going to drag it down and put it into V1, and I'm going to put it right at the very beginning. So here's my clip. The clip size is based on duration, and I'm going to play through it, and I've cut out a lot of the sand in the front, and then it cuts completely after the pan. There's a ton more video after that. So that's one way to edit clips. I'll show you a different one here. We're going to actually add another clip in here. I am going to put the playhead right at the very end of this clip, or play it through. The playhead will stop. And I'm going to add the tilt up. Oh, nope, that's the one I just did. We are going to put in sorter.mp4, and I'm going to put that right after tilt up. This is the whole clip in its entirety. If we look at it, and just kind of gives an aerial of that sorter. which is actually kind of cool because they just dump dirt into it and it separates the big rocks and the little sand and then even smaller rocks to the right. So neat video. But in this particular video, the edit it's a little too long. So we're going to go to, I'm going to move this playhead. And like I said before, your program window is the one that is basically showing you what's in the timeline. So now when I want to put this playhead right here in the timeline, when I want to put it at a certain time, I'm on the left side of the program window. And we want to go to 2016. So 20 seconds, 16 frames. So I just type in 2016, hit tab, and the playhead moves up in the program window, but it also moves down here in the timeline. The reason I'm putting the playhead here is because I want to edit this back end. I want to cut the back end. And the playhead allows me to have a guide to be able to do that. So it doesn't matter. I'm on the selection tool of my tools, but it doesn't really matter. As you go over the right side, you'll actually see if I can magnify this. It just magnifies the clip. But if I go to the right side of the clip, my cursor turns into a right-hand arrow. But if I go to the left side and go right on the edge of the clip, your cursor will turn to a left-hand arrow. And that's the one you want. And all you have to do is, I'll actually keep it magnified. All you got to do is just drag the end of the clip and let it snap to the playhead. And what we've done is just effectively cut off that back end. We just cut off everything that was in here from the playhead to the back of the clip. So the clip's a little shorter. You play through it and we just cut off the back end. Edit number 2, a different way of editing. So you can edit things in the timeline. Most of what we're going to do in the next step is all done in the timeline. All right, we're ready for our third clip in the sequence. We're going to use the spin up clip. And I'm just going to do the same exact thing. Well, before I drag, I should say, I look at my playhead. It's in the middle of the sorter clip. So if I use my arrow keys, watch what the playhead does. If I hit my up arrow, the playhead moves to the left. And it moves in increments of where the clips are, which is very, very useful when you have multiple clips in here. So up goes backwards on the clip edges, and down goes forward. So I want to make sure the playhead is at the very end of sorter. Now I'm going to go ahead and drag spin up in, and I put that until it snaps right to the playhead. This is a long clip, so I'll kind of scrub through it, right? It's just this backhoe just digging into the dirt and gives you a different look at the sorter. So we're going to cut this up a little bit. We're going to do this a little differently. I'm going to use the razor tool for this. So the razor tool is right over here. You find it in the toolbar. You'll notice too as well, we're going to use the playhead as a guide again. So I want to put the playhead in the right place. I want to put the playhead at, I'm just looking at my notes here, 39 seconds and 17 frames. So I type in 39:17 right here, puts the playhead where I want it. Got to be careful with the razor. Very similar to GarageBand where we split regions at the track head or the playhead. The razor just cuts. And as I go into each of these clips, if I clicked in here, the razor would cut those clips right where it sits. So you got to be very careful with the razor. As always, if you make a cut with the razor and it's wrong, if you hit just Command Z to undo it, it'll get rid of that cut. But clearly I want to cut on the playhead itself. So I'm going to slide over the razor until it hits the playhead, and you'll see a little white line appear on the clip on the playhead, and I'm just going to click once with my mouse. And that creates 2 separate regions of that clip. I've got this region, and now I've got this region. And what we want to do is we want to get rid of the front. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the front region and hit the delete key on the keyboard. That creates an empty space in the video. And anytime you have empty space in a Premiere project and you play through it, all it is just dead space on the video. So clearly we don't want that there. We don't want this big gap in here. People ask me all the time, well, why don't you can just drag this over, right? I can move this if I want. You certainly can. There is a feature though, however, I think is better. Anytime you can have Premiere make the decisions for you, you're going to be much better off. So that's what I want to do. I want Premiere to get rid of this blank space in here. I'm going to right click in there, and there's only one command that comes up. It's called Ripple Delete. And if I go ahead and choose that, it gets rid of the blank space. Premiere knows exactly where the last clip ends and where the next clip starts. So just another example of up and down arrows, right? You can sift through these clips just by using the up and down arrows. Okay, we've got our clip in there. I think we're going to cut some off the end, I think, too, as well. We're going to go to 3005 for the playhead. So I'm going to go 3005 and hit tab. And we're going to do another razor cut. So I'll grab the razor again, and I'm going to cut that right there. I am going to click on the last chunk of it and just delete it. So we've cut a good chunk out of Spin Up. There isn't much video left in there, but it's the important piece. So there's Spin Up. We're good to go on that. We're going to do one quick edit the way we did the first one. I'm looking for the drive clip. Instead of pulling it over into the timeline, I'm going to double click on it so we can see it up in the source panel. I'm going to put in some in-out points, which I'll be honest with you is the way I do most of my editing. So we are going to go in at 1:05:00, which is 1 minute, 5 seconds, and 0 frames. And I'm going to put in point. And then I'm going to go in and do 1:31:15, 1 minute, 31 seconds, 15 frames. There's my out point. I'm going to quickly grab that and put that into my project. 2 more steps in editing. We're going to do one more process, and then we're going to add three clips with in-out points in sequence. So as I play through this video, I'm actually going to pull up, let's see, we're going to pull up Dolly In. So I'm going to double click on that so it shows up in the source window. Here's Dolly In. Let me play through that one. And it's actually the empty truck coming in to where the backhoe is to be able to be filled. Okay, so believe it or not, there is a story. There is a storyline here. Let's look at drive. Let's look at the end of Spin Up. So currently we go from Spin Up, which is just the backhoe putting stuff into the sorter. And then we go into drive. And the thing you'll notice is the truck is full at this point and it drives away. So I'm looking at this Dolly In piece. No, it's not Dolly In. Yeah, I guess it is Dolly In. And this is, again, if I start playing this, the truck is just backing in to get filled. So if I was looking at this in sequence, this video clip should not be after this because the truck's already full here. So in essence, I need to put this clip, whatever I clip it out to, I've got to put it right in here, right? So I've got to go between Spin Up and drive so that the empty truck shows up here and then the full truck drives away. So once again, Premiere has a way of doing this. I could manually do this, right? Like I could pull this over to the right, make my clip, and then put it back in here if I want. But Premiere offers a way to do that. So let's clip this out appropriately. We need certain in points and end points. We have an in point at 7:25, 7 seconds, 25 frames. I'm going to put an in point. And then we're going to do an out point at 26:20. 26:20. Out point there. So this is the chunk of film we're going to put in. There are 2 buttons over to the right. One of them says insert and the other says overwrite. And these do completely different things. I make sure my playhead is where I want to put the clip. So I'll put it exactly at the end of Spin Up, right before drive. Obviously the one I want is insert. Let me do overwrite first just to kind of show you what happens. If I choose overwrite, watch the drive clip once I click overwrite here. So I'll click overwrite. And what basically happens is it put this video clip in here, but it overwrote the drive clip, which got rid of the video that I was using. So clearly we don't want to do that. I'm going to undo. But if I click the insert button, it pushes the drive video in its entirety over and makes room for Dolly In, all automatically. So it's not something you have to worry about. Premiere automatically knows that these are going to be straight cuts as we go through drive, backwards through Dolly In, through Spin Up, sorter, and the beginning of the video. So now we're good. We're in good sequence where the empty truck comes in, starts getting filled, and then drives away here once it's filled. So our story is intact. Okay. While we're here, we've got a couple of clips in here. I might as well show you the zoom functionality. This is the bar down below in the timeline is a combination tool. It's kind of a hybrid. You can actually drag through the timeline just by grabbing the bar and dragging it. but the ends have little circles on it. And depending upon what circle you're using, depends upon whether you're zooming in, this is zooming in, and this is zooming out, right? And you can shrink this up big time. It doesn't change the duration of the movie. Duration of the movie is still 1 minute and 15 seconds and 17 frames, but you can look at it in different magnifications. So I'm going to make sure I'm at the end. We're going to put in 3 more clips. I just want to look at my notes here real quick just to make sure we got it all right. 725, 2620. Okay, and so we're going to do 3 more clips. We're going to do, and we'll all do them with in and out points. The first one is dump 2. So I'm going to grab dump 2, double click. And, well, I'll try to do these relatively quickly. 02, 18, 25. Hit tab. There's my endpoint. Then I'm going to go to 02, 33, 20. Tab. There's my out point. Grab the out point. Grab and slide it in. Slide the playhead over to the end. The next one is bulldozer. We started off with this one, if you remember right. This one is 1720 in point. And then, what do we got here? 2320. Tab, out point. Drag that in. Oop, didn't take. Let's try that again. Drag that in. Hit the down arrow, go to the end, and we're going to do one more. Crane up. And that's going to be endpoint of 1120. Endpoint, using my keyboard shortcuts, I. And 26. Flat, 2600. Out point. Drag that in. And so now, as I zoom out, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go from the start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we used all 8. Let's look at the end real quick just to see how it ends out. This is crane up. And I'm going to trim this off on the backside to the point where we don't see cars anymore, and the crane just kind of comes up and looks at the. I don't know. I guess we'll keep it just like that. We won't end it out. Okay, all our edits are done. We have the video portion of our project done. You'll notice none of these videos had audio with it, so we'll talk about that in the next section. But ready to go. Your videos, all the clips are all in there and ready to be processed. Quick save, and we'll catch you in the next video.